Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. This is episode 413. I'm your host, Sean Garman, here with me as usual, Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
And well, we normally do not record on the Tuesday, but we are today because of the holiday. And man, my whole plan was changed in about 30 minutes ago because news drops on Tuesdays a lot, and it sure did here. As now we're going, so it's not in description for a few places if you're watching live on Facebook and such, but I did get to add it to the YouTube and Twitch. Sony has decided they're going to take down Concord on October 6th, so we'll talk about that unexpectedly. Some good and bad news for Xbox when it comes to games either not coming to their platform, getting delayed, or coming to their platform unexpectedly all of a sudden. That Nintendo Direct and Indie World thing that happened like basically the day after we recorded last time. We'll talk about our favorite announcements from that. I've been playing Visions of Mana, so I got that. Marc has been playing Star Wars Outlaws, so there's that as well that we're going to talk about. So plenty to discuss here. We'll get into all that and more right after this. Well, as soon as I can find the little button. Here we
go. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so where do you want to start first, Marc? You want to start with games, or you want to
games would be good because I actually got stuff to talk about for once. But you can start with your game first if you want.
Sure, let's start with Visions of Mana here. So I got a code on the day it actually released, which was last week on Thursday. I guess I'm still technically in chapter 1, even though it feels like I've done a lot. I guess the chapters are kind of long. But yeah, this was the first Mana game that's released, a new Mana game that's not a remaster or some kind of mobile port or whatever. The one that's actually released on consoles for the first time in like 18 years or so. So yeah, and it definitely delivers on that. I don't have a ton of history with the Mana series, going to be honest. I played Secret of Mana with an emulator. And then I played Summer Trials of Mana, the remaster or remake, whatever, that when it came to PS Plus like last year. And that's kind of all I've played of Mana. I don't have like this extensive history with it, but obviously loving JRPGs and such. Definitely wanted to check it out. And I think the reviews are pretty spot on, like around 7s, 8s feels about right with this. It's really fun. I like the character art style. I've gotten to the part where you enter the town where the fox, I guess that's a fox, Morley, you get him. For all the furry folks out there, I'm sure y'all have seen the fox in there. But so I have 3 characters plus a 4th character, which you don't get to play as, but she helps you and cures you and stuff like that. But it's pretty actually like, it's cool that you can control any of the characters at once if you want, so you can switch between them, or you can just basically decide that you want to use. You can tell which one of them to do their attacks and stuff like that. So kind of like Rebirth a bit, where you can just decide whether you want to switch your character or you can just do the thing where you pick which attack they're going to use. So for me, I think the art style is catching. The story seems like there's a lot of like Final Fantasy X in there, where you're the guardian of the person that's supposed to go sacrifice themselves for the betterment of the entire country or town or whatever. She's the other main character is the Alm, and you are the soul guard, as they put it. And I guess the one difference is that it's pretty evident that the two like each other. They just kind of, because they're younger than Tidus and Yuna are, they kind of play coy about it, but everybody else knows that they like each other, kind of thing. So there's a lot of jokes about that in here. But it feels a bit more serious than like your typical anime stuff. So there's that. But again, I'm only like, I want to say 4, 5, 6 hours in if I wasn't doing a lot of other stuff, which I think that's one of the like nice things about the game is it encourages you to explore a lot. So you find stuff around the world, different currencies that you can either use to buy weapons, armor, all that stuff, or you can. There's one that's just for this particular store that's done by this little bear that goes in and basically gives you items for cheaper, and you can find those. And it's like one of those that really like there's a double jump in this game, so it's definitely the platforming is a big deal, and they want you to use it a lot because it basically is like you think you can't get there, and then you start jumping around, and you actually can get there. And it's just kind of fun to like find out, oh, okay, I can get over there. I can get that chest. I might run into this like level 50 monster that I can't fight right now, but if I kind of like sneak my way around, I can get it and then avoid the monster or whatever. So like in kind of Xenoblade style, there are like big monsters that show up, and you might want to avoid them because they're going to kill you if you try to actually fight them in battle and you're not that level yet. But yeah, I do like the fact that you can kind of just go around wherever you are. And that stuff is cool. So like it feels freeing to just if you want to go explore and do stuff, there are side quests. You can go do those. Those are the typical like side quest fare. Go over there, get me this, find this, go find this character. They're gonna tell you to do this. There are some that are a little bit more involved, but so far it's a lot of the usual stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think if you like the Mana series, that's definitely you should go buy this. Especially you've been waiting so long for this game to be out and everything. Also, with the bad news that Tencent and NetEase decided that they basically closed the studio down the day that the game released. There was rumors going around, and then basically the next day they released a statement. That they have decided to basically gut the studio. There's only a few people left that are just basically overseeing the games that are still in development. Not this one that's out already, but I guess any technical things with this. It seems like NetEase and Tencent are kind of maybe rethinking some of their investment in Japanese studios, and they own other studios still, including Grasshopper, which that's the Suda51 studio. That new Nagoshi studio, which was created by Toshihiro Nagoshi when he left the Yakuza team. RGG. They have Pinnacle, which is led by a producer from Dragon Quest 8 and 9. Even one that's led by a former Resident Evil 4 producer. So they have quite a few. And it kind of sucks that already, like, they didn't even let this game breathe. They just automatically assumed this game wasn't going to sell ridiculous numbers or whatever numbers they needed it to hit, and then decided that, okay, we're this thing's getting scaled back. They're blaming it on, some other things that are being blamed is that post-COVID, everything's kind of shrinking because people overspent during COVID, all that stuff. Whatever their cause for this is,
yeah,
it's just kind of like a microcosm of the industry this year, period, or not this year, but the last couple of years of just even a game just released. We haven't really gotten to know whether this game's going to sell well or not, sell what you need. You didn't let it breathe. You didn't let it get word of mouth or anything, and you're already shutting the studio down. That's ridiculous. And it sucks when this is actually a really good game that's suffering because of it. No. So
right.
Hopefully people buy it, man. Go support this game. Show them that at least Square-Enix was right to give this game a revival.
Yeah. Or at least it may be on sale soon.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any care for the Mana series or
no, I've never played them. I think I
Nope.
have Secret of Mana on SNES, but never touched it.
Right. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, definitely people should go check it out, especially if you're wanting that JRPG fix for that now.
Right.
That's pretty much it for me because that's what I've been playing mainly. How goes that Star Wars Outlaws?
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's not like terrible, but it's just extremely boring. The stealth is incredibly. That's actually the bad part. Is they don't give you enough systems, or they don't give you enough like helpful stuff in the game to make stealth fun. The controls are shoddy. Like I keep thinking this is Assassin's Creed. Like Assassin's Creed, it's like you press a button, you press down or left or whatever on the D-pad. You tap it to whistle, and then you hold it to summon the horse. That's how it's pretty much always gone as long as they had whistling in the game. And this game is the opposite. You tap it to summon your speeder, and you hold it to whistle. So I can't tell you the number of fucking times I've been in like an enemy camp, trying to stealth around, press the button, and my speeder just comes like riding up. And it's funny because like no one bats an eye either. Like it's just like, where'd the speeder come from? No biggie. Let's go back on my path. There's a ton of instant fail missions. Like the second you're seen, you fail the mission. That's fun.
Yep. I saw a lot of that too. People just kind of like it'll lock you and you have to restart the game.
It's a little buggy. It's not as bad as Robocop, thankfully, but like the funniest part to me was like after you get to the first main planet, it's like, oh, you gotta get this fuel thing for your ship so you can leave the planet. It's like, okay, got the fuel part, installed into my ship, and it's like, all right, let's go to the space station or whatever. Hit the button, my ship, launched off the planet, and the game crashed. And I was like,
wow.
Yep. Like the music swelled, and then it was like, yep, PS5 error report, and I was like, yep, this is somehow just perfect. Your little buddy, not robot, but your animal companion, yeah, it's helpful, but it's still like you can see enemies in the game, but it's not like Assassin's Creed Vision or even like Batman Detective Vision or anything. It's so fleeting as to like almost like not be useful because you can only see enemies through walls for like 3 or 4 seconds, and then you can tell that creature to do something, but it does it so quickly that I almost don't have time to do it. Like I had to sneak into this enemy base, and it was like to get to this, I had to get through a fan, like a big fan exhaust system, and I had to tell the guy Nix to like hold on the switch so I can sneak into the fan, and he would hold it down for like 3 seconds, and then let go. And I was like, "No, you idiot! Keep holding it down until I make it through, and then come back to me." Like, you just can't tell it to like do something and stay there,
Wow.
The main character is bad. First of all, I think like it isn't like there are parts of the game that look okay, but if you look closely at it, it falls apart. Like there are shots or there are camera angles where it looks like the main character fell out of a PS2 game. And it's like, yo, dog, why does Gears of War look better than this? Or
I mean, Ubisoft has that. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily like. I think that's more of a Ubisoft issue in general.
Yeah,
they have that.
I mean, sure,
particular problem.
Yeah, but like the main character is written so badly that like you have like it's not this game specifically. I would say that's a problem of most Star Wars stuff is they give you no reason to care about the main character whatsoever. They just like drop you in almost like mid-story, and they expect you to care, and it's like, wow. why should I? Like, you're giving me no reason to care. Like,
Yeah.
I keep thinking about the two games. I keep thinking about Star Wars, like the original movie, and then Assassin's Creed 2. Like, both those things, they gave you some time to spend with Luke or Ezio before all the bad shit. Like, to help you identify with the character, and then once tragedy befalls them, you care about their plight. This character,
Yeah.
Kay, she's just like a thief, and she's a bad one at that. Like, she fucks up almost every mission she's on.
I mean, it's kind of like it feels like the way they just introduce you to Han Solo as well, right? They just drop him in. They don't really tell you much about him.
Yeah, but Han Solo is actually
Yeah,
like effective.
right. No, I get that part. I'm just
Uh,
saying it feels like they use that same kind of like, okay, we're gonna drop you in, even though it seems like there's a lot of complaints about the opening part of the game is slow.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then also for a game call, I mean, say what Star Wars or what the stupid special editions want. Han shot first. Han is kind of a bad guy, at least initially in the first movie,
Yeah,
or not like
that's true.
evil, but an actual rogue character. Like this character, like you can't do any outlaw shit. Most you can do is steal from like some people. Like there's no reason why you just can't steal from everyone. Like it's just like, oh, certain people have money on them. It's like, what? Like you can't kill anyone. I mean, I'm not saying you need to become like a mass murderer in the game or anything, but like it's just so constrained morally in the game that it's like, why is this called Outlaws? It should just be called like Thief or something like that, you know? Uh, so yeah, I'm kind of like just hate playing it. Uh, I just got. Oh, also the ship combat is like terrible. Like it is beyond
I was
bad.
about to ask you about that. How's the ship coming?
Oh
Is it like
man,
just kind of like generic, or is it just bad?
like they map. I think it's like they map strafing to L and R. Like on the left D-pad, on the left analog stick, it's like up and down is like accelerate and brake, but strafing is L and R. Or, I mean, sorry, strafing it is on the right thumbstick, like for like left and right. So on the left thumbstick, it's like you roll with left and right, and I think this feels really awkward. I'm sure there might be an option to change it. I don't know. There are so many Byzantine, gameplay and accessibility things that they make it like overly complicated, like kind of hysterically. And it's like I have no idea what half these many options even are at this point. uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'll probably keep plugging away at it. But yeah, it's a Star Wars game, I guess.
Well, yeah. It's definitely got a mixed reaction. That I've seen a lot of people saying that people are just hating on it and that they're enjoying it and stuff like that. And then you have the critical reception that we talked about last week for the game. So
Yeah,
it's definitely gonna be one of those where I'll definitely check it out like later if it goes on a sale or just we're finding things to talk about for game of the year. I may just renew that sub for Ubisoft Plus because I'll want to play Prince of Persia again or
right.
before that too, or don't they have another and Assassin's Creed as well? So maybe around when Assassin's Creed comes out, I'll just
Yeah.
play both of them at once.
Yep.
But yeah, anything else you want to?
Yeah, I got a few other things. I did platinum Diablo 4 finally and Robocop. Uh, the last mission of Robocop broke in a really fun way, where you're in this big street environment and you have to like basically lay down peace. Like you have to like rescue a bunch of shopkeepers and shit like that, and do a few
Yeah.
different like little side missions. One of the people I would rescue is in this like market. I'll like open the door. Robocop would put down his gun and then keep it down forever.
Wow.
And I couldn't punch. I couldn't do shit. And I still had like one other guy to rescue. And the guy I was trying to rescue had like enemies around him, so I couldn't actually fight them.
Mm.
So what I eventually ended up doing, and I had to figure this out, is I rescued that guy first, then I rescued the market guy, and I put my gun down, and then I went into like another area. I had like a loading screen or like an actual like indoor building, and then my gun was back. And thank God that worked, because if it didn't, I would not rescue that guy, because it's like, well, I can either rescue this guy and not have my gun work at all, and in combat not work, or this guy can just die and then I can continue on with the game. What else? I played Black Ops 6 beta. It is what it is. It's a lot faster than most Call of Duty games because everyone can run around.
Okay, that's good.
And I don't like some of the maps, but yeah, I'm not also good at the game. Forgot to mention last week I bought a PS2 beta or a PS2 debug system.
I saw that. Yeah, it's actually called Test with the PS2 lettering and everything.
Yep. It's not like a full on. There are two debug systems. It's like a tool system that's like a much bigger console. But yeah, the Test is basically, it looks like a PS2 just with the word test on it instead. So that lets you play import games and some burned games. So I bought Naruto Ultimate Ninja 2, Final Fantasy 10, Final Fantasy 12, and Devil May Cry 3, like Japanese copies.
Nice.
So that'll be fun to go through. I'm sure Final Fantasy 10 will be a lot easier on Japanese.
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't have to. You play the game for, so you can just skip the dialogue. So.
Right. And the last thing I'll mention is I went to because you asked me about it. I went to a GameStop Retro store.
Okay. How was that?
Kind of a joke, like everything GameStop is nowadays. So I looked around.
Do they actually have like that whole logo and all that stuff with GameStop Retro? Do they, or is it just they call it? They just have a thing outside that says this is a GameStop Retro store. Like, how does that?
No, that's the funny thing is this is one of my normal GameStops around my town.
Mm-hmm.
I went there and I walked around for about a good 5 minutes, and then I asked the dude, I'm like, hey, where's all the retro shit? And he's like, oh, it's in the back in the corner. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought it'd be kind of like up front or like maybe in like the glass case or something. But he's like, no, it's in the corner. And I looked there. They had about 2 shelves full, or not shelves, but like 2 kind of panels. One was like Xbox and one is PS3. And then they had another one that was like full of 3DS and Wii U games, oddly. And he was like, oh, and then we also have like behind the game, like behind the counter games, and it was like 12 or 15 PS2 games, like very common PS2 games, like Devil May Cry, Sly Cooper, and God of War, and that was it. And it was like, oh, we got one N64 game, and it was like NFL Quarterback Club. And I was like, yep.
I guess at least that one is,
And
And
he said, like, they had like no branding at all, because I couldn't even find the retro. Like, I would expect like them to have like a sign, like you said, or some type of like notice or something, but no. And then he was like, "Oh, we're supposed to get more of the stuff later on. Like they're just rolling this out now." And it's like, well, just thinking like, if it's not done yet, maybe don't advertise.
I just don't understand that. Like, why not wait until all of the stores have the stock they're gonna have to launch it?
Yeah.
Make a big deal about it, change some of the store around to make it feel like it's something special instead of just another thing you added to GameStop to try to get people in the door. And it's like, man, I don't know. We have put out commercials for it. Like, most of these places, most of these places have retro stores. And it's like, it's not like they just, you're trying to get those people to not go to those retro stores to go to your store. And that doesn't help when you just throw it out there like it's, oh, we just basically put, instead of Funko Pops, we put retro games over here. How you doing? Like, it's like, that's not going to get people to to
Yeah,
get over there.
and
You know?
I can kind of see the idea of the retro thing because it's not like every store doesn't have retro stuff. I think it's like I saw a
Right.
video and it's gonna kind of be like every store within like 20 miles will be like a retro store, and
Mhm.
if another GameStop gets retro stuff in, they'll ship it off to like the retro store, quote unquote, and like
That's
it'll be
good.
like
They should have retro designated stores. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be like the retro hub store or something like that. It's like okay, that actually does make sense. Or GameStop as a company can send you retro stuff. There are a few problems though. One is I'm sure most retro store like mom and pop or like other retro stores will give you better money or better service for it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's not enough product really to like let it go around. I mean, just like most places already have retro stores that are like really well stocked.
Right.
So the one wall shelf full of original Xbox games. It's like, okay, the disc replay I have up here, which is like a good used media store, has like, three entire like shelving walls full of original Xbox games. Like,
Right. The only
and
people this is really going to serve, I feel like, is if you don't have another retro store anywhere close to you,
yeah,
and this is the only one.
and
Like,
it's like I don't. I mean, that actually kind of happened. Like, when I visited Yens in Atlanta, like they barely have any retro game stores out there. So like maybe
mhm.
in his neck of the woods it might work, but he'd probably everyone would probably just be better served like with eBay or something, or DK Oldies or whatever. Like,
Yeah, because I have at least like 5 GameStops
yeah,
uh around me that I can get to within like anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes.
yeah,
Um I'm trying to see which one is around me. Okay, so they decided the one in Cutler Bay is going to be, so this is the farthest one away from me. So this one's like, I want to say it would take like 20 minutes for me to get there.
yeah,
Yeah, so they're pretty far, few and far between, but like, so they decided the one closest to the in home. Yeah, so all the ones around me are not retro, and the one that's a little bit farther to actual going to be the retro one. And there's 2 other shops that are
right,
retro, that are like actual like retros
retro,
that are not
yeah,
GameStop, that are retro shops
right,
in between those 2. So it's like, I guess they kind of figured that's actually smart. Like they figured there's no point of putting a GameStop retro in this area because there's 2 other retro shops close to each other. We don't need a third one it's not really gonna do anything, right?
right,
So they actually made it make sense. But like you said, if they do this in areas where there are retro shops, they're gonna look really bad because they're not gonna have enough stock. It's gonna be like
yeah.
this extra thing they put in there, and I'm sure the prices were the prices like what you thought they should be, or were they higher?
No, they were about what they should be.
Or okay,
They're not. Well, they didn't have any like super high profile games. I mean,
okay,
uh, let's see. The one funny thing, and this is I guess this is a little higher than normal now, but they had a copy of NCAA Football 14 for the 360, and
right,
that was
yeah,
like $45. Uh,
okay,
but I mean that game used to be $100 or 150,
right.
and now on price charting it's like 35 because NCAA Football 25 finally came out. So it's like okay, the nature is healing, and now I don't give a shit about this 10-year-old football game anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, like you said, is there's a new game that's by most accounts better than the old game. There's some things missing, but they can easily just put those into EA 26 or whatever.
Yeah,
And then for sure 14 will be a distant memory by that point. Like that game is going to go down to like what usual
yeah,
old
it'll be five.
Madden's cost within a couple of years
Yeah, it'll be
because
$5. especially if they put out like NCAA football 2026, next year or whenever the next one comes out.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, let us know if you've had any of these GameStop retro experiences, and let's see how long this little initiative lasts from GameStop.
Yeah, will it work better than the last time they tried this nonsense?
Yeah, at least they're trying to make their own dedicated stores. Let's see how dedicated they end up making it. Do they end up taking a lot of the new games out to? Yeah,
I mean, that was the other thing. This looked exactly like it looked like every other GameStop, or like they did they changed nothing. So it's like, why would
I mean, that's the thing, is like, I don't understand why they didn't wait 3 more months. Like, I get it that you don't, especially when you're going to get to the holiday season, like wait till November or something like that, have it all ready to go, actually have the store changed around. I understand maybe it costs too much to do it on the outside, but do it on the inside so that when they walk in, it feels like a retro store and not, oh, this is just GameStop and we put the retro little thing on there.
The retro corner.
It's like it's not great right now. Hopefully they improve it, but I feel like this is just them testing the market to see if there's even a market for this, and then they're quickly going to dissolve it.
Right. Yep.
Or they dissolve the store that it's the GameStop retro store or whatever. But I guess we'll further see on that. I'm sure that it won't take long for them to tell people what they're going to do with that.
Yeah.
But anything else?
No, I can talk about Concord.
All right. So let us move on to talking about Concord here. So this is basically hot off the presses. Like I said, normally we do the show on Monday, so this would have been something we talk about the next week, which always happens. They always do news on Tuesday, and then Monday we're always talking about the old thing, as this happened with when we talk about the Nintendo Direct stuff later. But Concord is basically, and this is Sony's blog. This is not somebody doing some kind of insider news bit or whatever that we're going off rumors like some other things we're going to talk about. Like this is Sony themselves posting on their blog this morning saying, or this afternoon, well, this morning for them, because this is mostly based off of the Pacific time, basically saying as of October 6th, this game is being taken down. And they are going to refund you. And you can, get that refund from wherever it is that you bought the game. Basically, their statement is that we've been listening closely to your feedback since the launch of Concord on PS5 and PC. I want to thank everyone that's joined them on the journey aboard to the North Star. However, while many qualities of the experience resonate with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game in our initial launch didn't land the way we intended. Therefore, at this time, we have decided to take the game offline beginning September 6th. I'm sorry. So basically, in a few days, on Friday, it will be removed. I think they put October 6th on the headline, and then they changed it to September 6th of the article, I think. Is what they did. So listen, that's crazy. I don't think we've ever seen this from we've seen live service games go down, but usually they give it like, okay, here's 6 months for y'all to play whatever you're gonna play in it, and then it's gonna go completely down. I think their idea is that we're going to determine the best path ahead. Sales are gonna cease immediately. Their idea, I guess, is to do the multiverses thing where they're going to try to bring it back and see if it does, see if it does well later.
Which is, it's funny because like Multiverse isn't doing well.
Yeah, Multiverses is doing okay. They have some content planned for it. Thank you for always watching us. Appreciate that. We knew the sales weren't good. I think last week they had reported that it was like 25,000 or so sales, and that's rumored sales because Sony doesn't really usually report sales like that. And that was already bad. then for Sony to basically take the step of, we're just taking this down completely because it's costing us more to like host these servers probably than it is for the amount of people that were playing the game. And I think at one point I saw reports of like there were 70 people playing the game entirely, which is insane. And that's on Steam because I think on PlayStation you can't really measure that stuff.
You know, I don't think Steam charts is like the end all be all. It's still kind of like a rough estimate.
Right. Yeah.
Let's say even that number was off by like 200 or maybe even like 2,000.
That's insane for a game.
That's still like insanely low. Or like, I mean, there have been games that have like had more spectacular fuck ups, like Ashes Cricket 13 or that Afro Samurai 2 game.
Right. But Babylon's Fall was pretty bad.
That at least lasted a few months, I think.
Yeah.
But nothing to the degree of like this game was like a huge initiative, kind of, or was on like the Game Awards, whatever the fuck Jeff Keighley thing a few months ago.
Yeah.
You know,
it had its own state of Sony dedicated about 15 minutes of state of play time to this thing.
Yeah, okay, that might have been what I was thinking of. Yeah, they're like, oh, it has cutscenes every week, and you know,
yeah, exactly. They made a big deal about this game to try to sell it out. You know, lets you know that there's characters people should care about, all that stuff, and then I think that wound up just making it worse.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think a lot of people that say they had played the game, that have bought the game, they actually kind of like the game. It's just it doesn't do anything special that makes it different than the other hero shooters or type of games of its ilk that make it to where it's like, oh, we need to drop everything and play this.
Right.
And that's a problem, right? There are so many forever games out there. I wonder what's going to happen to Firework Studios now, because you say you're going to do these things, right? And then maybe it just never happens. It doesn't happen, right? It just ends up costing them so much money just to try to retool this, and it still doesn't do anything, or people just don't care at that point, right? Like,
right.
I don't know. I mean, and Sony has other games that of this type. That Sony, you know, the Fair Games game still needs to come out. Like, you know, they canned the Last of Us one, but they have other ones that they have in the down there. You know, Destiny, they own Bungie, so you know they got to deal with Destiny. And Marathon apparently is not, you know, from what we talked about before, and then news that hit, you know, this week about them firing one of their head guys because he was doing inappropriate things with female workers. The Marathon is not doing well, and that's supposed to be Destiny's number 2 game Bungie's number 2 game that they're working on. That's supposed to, you know, reignite everything. That doesn't seem to be going well. So, and not this whole initiative, like they have some like major single player games in the works coming soon. Astrobot seems to be like the savior that's going to get people off of this stuff with Sony and talking about something good for Sony. Thankfully, that's coming in a couple of days. That same day they take Concord down is the same day that Astrobot comes out. So they pretty much want you to focus everything on Astrobot. Stop talking about Concord.
Right.
And that's smart. Honestly, that is smart by Sony. Let's focus on the good thing we got going right now, which is Astrobot, getting all the hype behind it. They got promotion everywhere. It's all the influencers and stuff already posted about how they got the game already. I think a day before the game comes out is the embargo on the 5th. So we're going to get those reveals and those big review scores, which you imagine are going to be probably high for that game. I'm excited for that game. I don't know. Are you?
I'm mildly more excited, I guess, or just mildly. You know, I never even finished Playroom. I don't think so.
Yeah, there's bots that you can get from Playroom also that you can bring into that game as well. So if for people that, you know, want to get into some Astrobot before the game comes out, you definitely do that. I know Randy's super excited as well for that game to come out. Anything else on Concord here? Do you think it actually does? Do they end up doing the reboot, or you think we're going to get news of them just canning it quietly or something?
I think they will try for the reboot. I think they should let it go though, or just admit it, or just go like, "Hey, we messed up," or we made a game we thought was good, the market didn't think so. Like, I think that method actually would be pretty good because it would give Sony like more authenticity.
Yeah.
And instead of like what Phil Spencer tries to do and go, "Oh, we want high profile games," and also we just shit canned hi-fi, the hi-fi Rust guys and stuff like that, So
No, you're definitely right about that. I think one of those. I agree with this. Look, if it means the studio continues to exist and the people continue to have a job, then sure, I want the reboot to work and all of that stuff. I think realistically, Sony just kind of needs to look at things and go, listen, maybe this just leads to Sony just re-examining everything that they got in the pipeline as far as the multiplayer stuff, because
that's kind of the bigger issue is them going like, "Oh, we want 12 live service games," and then it got knocked down to 6.
Right.
And I say, okay, even in this landscape, it's still a wild shot in the dark, and there's a lot more misses than hits. So
yeah, and then Jim Ryan left them with this of just, hey, we're going to do all these live service things, and then left, right? And
right.
I'm not saying can everything. I'm saying look at the stuff that you got, and you need to look at what makes this game different from another game, and use this as the platform to say, okay, everything else is cooking right now. We need to go back to the drawing board. We're going to quietly kind of we've already undone ourselves from this game. Maybe we get Firewalk people onto something else. I don't know if they become like a support studio for. I'm just saying, as hoping these people continue to have jobs, like have them be a support studio for Marathon or one of the other games that are happening, and just quietly do away with this, because at this point, I don't know. I don't know if you have it come back in 6 months and people even care about it at all.
Right. No, they won't.
But
the bummer thing it really is like, you have to wonder how long did they see this at all? Like, was there anyone at Sony going like, "This isn't going to work. Like, please don't do this," and then he just got overruled? Because I would have looked at this 2 years ago and said, "Hey, this ain't going to work." Like, what was it?
I imagine there was pushback. I imagine there was pushback.
Yeah, was it just too far along, or
I think also that we were still in that time of gaming was doing amazing. Yeah. And so people kind of had this idea of like, oh, it's just going to keep growing. So there's so many players out there that are waiting have things to play. And you don't realize, just like what happened with Suicide Squad, where, they've suffered layoffs this week as well, which that's kind of been coming, right? We knew that was going to happen.
The thing with that, at least, was like, I think they were forced to make that game, like how they did.
Right, they were, but it's that same mentality of, oh, well, this is what makes money, right? We need something that makes money constantly. These single player games we make are amazing, but they cost too much money, and sometimes most of the time we make the money back on it, but look at how much they have to sell. Whereas, oh, well, we don't have to sell that many Concord copies. We just got to get those people to keep playing Concord. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to work, because Concord has to be a game that people want to keep playing constantly and stop playing other games. And that's not what's happening.
Right.
Here. So, but okay, moving on to another PlayStation thing really quick here, because there is a game coming out today called Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. And it's a multiplayer focused game as well, where you play Quidditch, essentially. This is they took this out of the other Harry Potter game that sold a gazillion copies and made it its own game. And now it is releasing on PlayStation Plus day one. So if you are a Harry Potter fan, or they've had another Quidditch game before. If you have been
Yeah, but
I
think that was like the PS1.
I swear that was on like GameCube or something. But yes, you can go play that and get it on PS Plus if you have PS Plus. You can also get MLB The Show 24, which obviously that's on Game Pass, but you can now get it on PS Plus and don't have to worry about it coming off the thing because you own it as long as you have PS Plus. And then Little Nightmares 2, which, after all of the stuff about Little Nightmares 3 and then that Reanimal game that they showed last week from the actual Tarsier Studios, it's cool that you can now own Little Nightmares 2 for as long as you have PS Plus as well. So, and this game was actually really good. So, two really good games. And then we don't know about Harry Potter Quidditch Champions yet, but you can go try it out yourself. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of other Sony things, a little bit of bad news. And I'm going to talk about this first because it may have a little bit of direct impact on the other PS5 console that's probably going to come out this year. So starting this week, September 2nd, obviously today's September 3rd, the PlayStation 5 console went up about $90 in Japan for both versions, the digital version and the regular disc version. DualSense consoles also are going up in price as well, or controllers, not consoles. Controllers. Look, the yen's not doing well in Japan.
That's the reason. Yeah.
And also, even the Portal is going up, I think $40 as well. So
you used to be able to basically do the quick math of if something's 10,000 yen, it's basically like $10 in American, or $100. Sorry, you could basically do the quick math of whatever number Japanese yen is, take two digits off it.
Right.
Not anymore because it's gotten so crazy.
Yeah, it's not doing well at all, and then I think the issue is that we have things with just economy in general. The economy in general everywhere. We've seen them do price hikes in other, they did that price hike in other regions, right? Besides the US not too long ago. Xbox did it as well. Nintendo's really been the only one that has not done that, but obviously they don't have as powerful a console, so they don't need to really do that either.
Right.
And, unfortunately, this is kind of just the economy in general, inflation, all that stuff. Just what it is right now. So
yeah,
you hate to see it, but I hate it for Japan because they already have a problem. Sony already has an issue where the Switch and mobile and all that, it's a huge competitor for them. And I wonder how much, once the Switch 2 comes out, the PS5 won't even be something considered, right, for Japan because of the price. And that also makes you wonder about this PlayStation 5 Pro, which they had the design of it leak and rumored possible price for both a digital edition and disc edition, or possibly not even a disc edition. Possibly might just be you have to go buy the detachable disc drive kind of thing. Of course, this has not been put out by Sony at all. This is Biblicune Deal Labs, the guy that always is going around leaking the PS Plus stuff before it leaks, or he has a really good tracker because he's mentioned almost pretty much every month. But he says he couldn't. He's seen what it's supposed to look like, but obviously he can't put out the picture of it because he'd get in trouble, copyright issues. So he did a design look of it, and it kind of looks a lot like the PS5 Pro. It's a little bit beefier, and it has the 3 lines on it that's similar to the Slim, and supposedly the Slim faceplates are going to work with it. So if you already bought the Slim and you have faceplates, they're probably going to work on the Pro. This has led to people speculate about costs, some of it due to what was just announced with Japan, and some of it due to the inflation, and then some of it due to what's going to be inside of it, which according to rumors, there's still not been anything concrete from Sony about what's in the thing. But supposedly it's supposed to run about 45% faster.
It'll just be powered by pixie dust.
Yeah,
that's why you can't open it.
It's gonna have that whole AMD's version of the NVIDIA, whatchamacallit?
Ray tracing?
Not the ray tracing, the where it up-reses everything automatically.
Oh yeah. Upscaling.
Yeah, the upscaling stuff. But the rumor is right now, it's a rumor. Listen, it's a rumor. It doesn't mean it's actually going to cost this. But there are rumors going around that the disc version of the PS5 Pro could cost up to $700. And the digital version costing $600, which that's crazy, right? That's like the PS3 levels of, hey, go get another job if you want to buy a PS3.
Right.
If it did come out at that price, what do you think is going to be the reception to this? Do you think that's fair for a PS5 Pro to come out at that price? And do you think it will?
I think it might be a little high. Like I'd probably better say 500 for the Pro base and then 600 for the whatever the disc version. But people are idiots and they'll buy it. Even though I don't even think the PS5, a lot of PS5's problems, like Robocop would be a good example, is it's not like the PS5 is a low power system. It's just the developers got lazy or they didn't bother to fucking finish it,
right?
Or bug test it. So,
I mean, a lot of games have come out with, hey, it can only run at 30 FPS, or the performance mode is broken and we got to fix it, or Square-Enix had problems with that on both 16 and Rebirth. There's other issues where, oh, hey, the game is just kind of like resetting on me constantly, or whatever.
I still like a PS4 Pro's gonna fix that, or a PS5 Pro's gonna fix that. So
the wishful thinking, right, is that now every game will be 4K 60 because we have this extra power in here in the PS5 Pro.
Except I don't need or even particularly want 4K 60. So
right, I don't. This is not necessarily for you. You also have like a newer laptop now too that you don't really need that for.
Well, I mean, do you care about 4K gaming?
I do, because I have a 4K TV now, a fancy 4K TV. I do care about it, but I'm not going to go spend $700 for it. I'm at that point where my laptop is really on its last legs, so I may really think about just getting a new laptop anyway and not even consider the Pro. Also, because I really feel like this is going to do, I don't think this is going to do any more or less than, like, say, what the PS4 Pro did to the PS4. Right. I think this is going to do just okay, fine, if not worse, because the price increase is insane. Now, listen, that's if it costs that price. I think if it ends up costing $600, I think that's totally fair for what you're going to put in here, especially if it's going to be 2 terabytes of storage instead of 1 terabyte. Definitely that $100 extra price, or even $150, right? If they say, like, let's say it's $650. And that's in US dollars. I know that would mean it would cost way more in other countries, which would make it probably even more of an issue for people to buy in those countries. Which, that counts as well. What this thing sells globally is important. Which, we just talked about in Japan. That makes it probably even more of an issue of that. If it's going to be even upped in Japan when that thing releases, crazy. Also, how long do they keep this thing tied behind the PlayStation Store, right? Because they're probably going to want to keep people from doing the normal thing of the resellers getting a bunch of copies of it and then trying to up the price, double, triple the price, because this is going to come out around the holidays. People are going to be wanting to get the newest version of this thing, especially if there's going to be people that haven't bought a PS5 at all. Then definitely you want to go with this, right? It's the best version of it, unless you just don't have the TV or the tech that would really take advantage of this.
Right.
If you're still doing 1080p TVs, don't even bother with this thing. It's not worth it. I don't feel like, if you got a fancy 4K TV, then I think this is really good, especially if you don't care about PC gaming at all. But I think we've seen some people go towards like whether it's a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally or just getting a mid-range PC and going into PC gaming, that I wonder how much of an effect, a PS5 Pro will have. Obviously, you can debate amongst the millions of people out there of how much can you really get for a $700 PC, right? As opposed to the PS5 Pro. How many games are you really going to be able to play on it that, are new at good settings or whatever? You, the PC guy, would probably know more about that than me.
I mean, a fair amount. I mean, there are people doing like budget builds like 700 that they claim it can blow, a PS5 out of the water.
Right, yeah. Look, it's not going to do as great as a 4090, but a 4090 is, the top of the top kind of thing.
Right.
But could it do, I think I saw, could it do like a 4060 or whatever? Maybe.
Yeah. Especially since you can actually like buy video cards again. It's not
right, yeah. It's not this incredible thing that it was for a while when crypto was insane that you couldn't buy those. So, I mean, even now, like literally, they have so many ways you can pay for things now that you can get one of those kind of a little bit more expensive laptops or PCs now, and you get it on like Affirm or Klarna, one of those like pay as you go things.
That's what I've been doing.
Dude, you can get that thing in no time flat. You have it paid off in a year, and there you go, and you got something that's going to last you for a while, even pushing towards the next console generation instead of just going after the new PS5 Pro, and then in a couple of years here comes the PS6. So yeah, I don't know how well. I don't think this is going to do extremely well. And okay, if Sony wants to put it out, great, but I don't think it's going to be the end all be all solution to issues the PS5 already has. Sure, it'll stop issues of games that are already released, but once they start trying to take advantage of this, and will they? Because most people are still going to have the base PS5. That's another question too, right? That was something that they talked about with the PS4 Pro, was that you didn't have as many people taking advantage of what the PS4 Pro could do because most people still had the base PS4.
Right.
So, all right. Moving on from that, let's get into some Xbox stuff because, of course, you can't have a week without Xbox having something. Most of it is negative, but there is some good news that came out today. And I thought that was going to be kind of like the big headline until the Concord stuff came out recently. But Xbox has kind of gotten into some news again. For this time, it's not about, the Series S is an issue or whatever. This time it's, hey, we're just not even paying attention to the fact that there's games that need to be certified, and we're not getting back to those games. This time it's, and most of these are indie games, right? This is another one, Enotria, The Last Song, which comes out later this month. September 19th. It's a Souls-like, so and it recently had a trailer at the Gamescom opening night live thing. So it's been in conversation recently. The CEO of the company said that they've been trying for months to get a hold of somebody at Xbox to let them make a store page so they can submit the game. The game's ready to go, even on Series S. And it runs well. Even they said the Series X version runs better than the PS5 version, actually. But because of nobody answering the phone or answering them at all, they have not been able to make the store page and submit the game. So therefore, right now, it is delayed indefinitely on Xbox because of this. Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming actually spoke to Giacomo Greco, the CEO of Jaimama Games, saying that because of this thing that I just mentioned, That's why they can't do it. That they've tried so many different ways. They've run into issues, whether it's customer service. They can't get a hold of anybody of note, and they don't have like somebody that's in charge of their game, right? That they can just speak to directly. That seems like a problem, but I wonder if that has to do with those layoffs that they had. They've had 2 sets of layoffs at Microsoft Xbox, division. I wonder if that's affected the customer service teams. And so you're going through a bunch more bots now than you used to. And therefore those bots, you're not getting through people.
It wouldn't be customer service though. It'd be like, developer relations or something.
Right. Developer relations, certification team, all that. Those people also got hit. Yeah. And I wonder if that's because that's not the first story. There's apparently, according to Discord and a few other like people that report on Xbox a lot, that's not the only game that's had this issue. There's other games that have been waiting for certification, waiting for somebody to get back to them, and they're just not getting back to them. And that's weird, right? Like you'd think that you would give these people their own manager, like their account manager, and say, okay, you're in charge of this game. But I wonder if they have a certain number of account managers and they just can't respond back to all these people at once. And I don't know if it's depends on how big the game is, whatever. I don't know what their criteria is for that. I'm not going to even pretend to know what it is. But that just seems like a really weird situation. I don't know if that means that now because he spoke out, Xbox will get to him and then they'll resolve this and it'll just come out a little bit later, like say October, November, instead of coming out September 19th, which again, it still sucks though, because once it's out there on PC and PS5 and stuff like that, and if you have those consoles and let's say this game does well, you're going to just buy it on that console or buy it on PC instead of buying it on Xbox. And then when the Xbox version comes out, nobody cares, and those are these little things that just keeps making Xbox look bad. That they're not helping themselves at all with this. Another one is this has kind of been back and forth for a while. Last week, this felt like it went back and forth between whether this is real or not. I'm just going to talk about it here because why not? I guess they might just disprove this whole thing again this week, but nobody from Sony or Game Science has talked about it. I'm talking about Black Myth Wukong. Paul Tassi from Forbes and then IGN was also reporting that Black Myth Wukong apparently might have some kind of exclusivity deal with Sony, and that's why it doesn't have the Xbox version out yet. Supposedly Sony may have given them some money to help with the port of the PS5 version. And so not that they gave them money for exclusivity directly, but just because they gave them money for the port, they may have decided to, because they took that, just say, okay, well, can you delay the Xbox version a little bit? And they did, and that's enough for PS5 to be the only console that has Black Myth Wukong for a while. Supposedly it was some memory issue reported by Game Science originally. Optimizing, all that stuff that's been an issue before, like with Baldur's Gate 3, especially when it comes to the Series S.
Yep.
There's been debate about whether this is true or not. The Paul Tassi stands behind his source. IGN also. Jeff Grubb went out and said that there's no exclusivity deal. But again, it doesn't mean that they just don't have some kind of marketing deal. It doesn't mean that there's not some kind of under the table deal that exists.
When has that ever happened with a Chinese company before?
Right. But do you think that this is hogwash, or you think there's something to this?
No, I think Sony gave them money to get the game on PS3 or PS5 rather, but I don't think it's an exclusive thing. I think it is more the port job or making sure the game actually runs well on it.
Right.
And I think Microsoft has been pretty reticent about that. I mean, I know you commented on it, and I saw the thing today that like, oh, Capcom has announced that the Capcom shit is coming to Xbox, and it's like, yeah, that should have happened. That should have been day and date, not whatever the fuck Microsoft is doing.
Right, but that
if the
seems to
Xbox,
have been more of an Xbox One issue, like for the framework, the NMT framework stuff or whatever.
okay, but
Then
if the Xbox One or the X, the Series X or whatever is harder to develop
mhm.
for whatever reason, Microsoft should be paying these companies more money to get the games day and date, to give
Right.
people because yeah, like with that game you were just talking about, it's like, well, yeah, who's going to buy this game when it's already been out on PS5 and Steam for a few months? Like the only people that are like the Xbox, diehard fanboys, which are decreasing in number, day by day.
No, I mean you're not wrong about that. Yeah, the only people that are going to buy it on Xbox later are the ones that they only have an Xbox, right? Or they don't like they have a PC, but they don't like to play games on PC. If they don't really prefer, they not, right?
Right.
So that's the thing is it's all perception. It's perception of Xbox doesn't help themselves. Now let's be honest. Again, the people outside of the sphere of gaming don't care about this stuff, right? It's just us, the people that are involved in this all the time. Um, but some of that stuff does leak out eventually when you hear all of these stories all kind of pile on each other about how Xbox doesn't care. Oh, Xbox waits until somebody makes a big deal about something to all of a sudden, oh hey, let's give Capcom more money so they can put. What do we have to do to get Capcom to put these fighting collections on Xbox? Okay, do that. Like, why does it take all that? Why are you not working with them already and saying, hey, I know you're going to announce this. What do we have to do to make sure it comes out on Xbox day and date? Like you said, they're not doing that. It feels like they're just waiting to see if there's a perception for it, if people get mad about it, and then they're reacting. This is the problem with Xbox. Has always been an issue. They always react to something. They're not proactive about it. They do it after the fact. And again, by then it's too late. You keep hurting your perception every time you do this. And now,
Yeah.
especially because you don't have Phil Spencer kind of moseying things along, it's more the other folks at Microsoft who probably look at this and go, who cares? It's one game, right? We have all
Yeah.
these other games coming out. Who cares?
I don't know if you saw his thing today or yesterday or whatever about like he has no regrets, even though
Oh
there
yeah,
hasn't been,
all the exclusives that they could have
yeah,
had,
like
right?
Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate and Rock Band or Guitar Hero or whatever else.
Yeah,
It's like,
Spider-Man, all that. Yeah.
you may want to have some regrets, like
I
I
think
think
he
that gives
said
you,
Destiny and Guitar Hero were the ones he kind of regrets the most, if he had
yeah,
any. Yeah.
but I think
Um,
regrets are a good thing actually because it informs your decision process for later on.
exactly. I think look, you can say personally you don't have any regrets, but when it comes to the business, you should, because like you said, it lets you know, oh, we screwed up there. Maybe we don't do that
Yeah,
again.
right.
Right. But I think they've also learned, look, at this point, I think he has to just say those things because he knows that they're not going to go back to that old strategy of money hatting stuff or trying to outbid Sony for exclusives. This is the path they're going to take, and sink or swim. This is what Microsoft is going to make this into. Whether we like it, whether old gamers like it, whether Xbox only people like it, this is their strategy. And Phil just kind of, unfortunately, it looks like every time he talks, it doesn't feel like his heart of heart is in that. He just has to say those things
Yep.
because this is what Microsoft is telling him to say. Look, we are doing this. We are trying to push people into removing exclusives. Satya Nadella has been on record saying he hates exclusives. He doesn't understand why gaming does this. And he is trying to, by force, kill exclusives, and trying to get Sony to see the light on that. I don't know whether they obviously are not doing that. Um, obviously different regions of the world. Also, Japan has a different mindset of what they feel gaming is compared to America, even though Sony does have a lot of Western and European influence now, as opposed to what they used to. Still, still kind of have that old head way of thinking, and then you have Nintendo out there that, dude, they just had this indie world thing, and they're still talking about, oh, it's a console exclusive, it's a timed exclusive, it's a like stuff that Xbox is like not giving two giant anythings about, and
here's the thing though, exclusives make the console, or they
right, they
give people
do, yeah.
So the Satella can go, oh, we don't want exclusives. Okay, you don't want people to buy an Xbox, which, hey, mission accomplished then.
Well, it's just he comes from a different world where like PC is not about exclusives, right? PC is about being open, everything, and all that stuff, and
except it's not. That's a really funny thing.
Well, I mean, like trying to get everything. PC has made itself so good that you have people putting their stuff on PC now that weren't doing it before.
Sure,
right?
But they're only putting it on Steam. Microsoft Windows is still like the only real operating system in the
Right.
world, even though it sucks nowadays.
Linux is there, but it's for the very, very hardcore
right.
PC people, right?
Yeah. So, that's all a joke.
Exactly. So, but that that is Xbox's thing right now. They can't kind of get out of their own way, and it will continue to be like that until they change that, if they ever do. So, right. But moving on from that, a couple of other things, not console-ish related until we get to the Nintendo stuff. Interesting from Shinji Mikami. He says that there's not much room for Dino Crisis because Monster Hunter exists and is thriving.
That's incredibly stupid. And no way would you conflate Monster Hunter with fucking Dino Crisis.
Well, isn't it because a lot of Monster Hunters, big monsters are like dinosaurs, and so like you have the dinosaur game, I guess.
Yeah,
is what except trying to say.
In Monster Hunter, you don't have assault rifles. It's all a melee focused game. Right. It's not survival horror.
Yeah. But couldn't you say also because Resident Evil is also doing very well, you don't need a Dino Crisis, right? Like you don't need variety in the survival horror space when Resident Evil keeps doing well every time they come out with a remake. So why waste your time doing a Dino Crisis where you could just remake another Resident Evil, right?
Because they're running out of Resident Evil games.
Well, that they are. Right?
And more to the point, they can have more than one franchise or more than two franchises going.
I agree with that.
And hey, it may be a risk, and it could not work out. I mean, that has happened before, but they should bother to take more, at least a chance once in a while, instead of putting all their eggs in the Monster Hunter /
Resident Evil,
and then Street Fighter pack,
yeah,
buckets. And hey, sometimes it doesn't work out. Like look at Exo Primal.
Right.
But
that was also them trying to go into the live service. Like let's try to catch on with this thing, and
that's also a game that no one wanted because they wanted Dino Crisis. And
exactly.
Like, this thing that's not what you want, but it still has dinosaurs in it because that's what we think you want instead of
right.
The actual thing.
But you know what game Capcom did take a chance on this year, and it did really well? Dragon's Dogma 2. And that shows that they might want to get. I mean, yes, that's an existing franchise, but it was a game that people
not a long range franchise. Or,
it's like it had one game, and they did a remaster. They did a like expansion kind of thing on it, and then it was like, okay, well, that was cool.
Right.
Nobody thought they were going to have this second one until they announced it, and then look how well it did. But unfortunately, all things do come to an end at some point, and Hideaki Itsuno is leaving Capcom after 30 years and 5 months. At the end, well, basically now he's now left. He says he is going to start developing a new game in a new environment, hopes to create a fun, beautiful game that is as memorable as, or even more memorable than, the ones I've created so far. Please stay tuned for my next creation. I already saw rumors running rampant that apparently he might be heading over to Square to do Final Fantasy 17, but who knows what's going on with that. He leaves a great legacy, obviously. Devil May Cry's 3, 4, 5, Dragon's Dogma 1 and 2, Power Stone. A big loss for Capcom as far as like having a veteran, but you know, this is going to happen to all the companies eventually.
Right. Except Nintendo. They'll prop up Miyamoto's corpse in a room somewhere.
Jesus. Yeah. I mean, even he said it, right? He's like, he's not thinking about retiring. He's just thinking about the next thing he has to do. He's just not involved in game development that much anymore. He's just involved in other stuff.
Right.
Do you believe that he did technically help with some of the stuff on 16's combat system? You think he could be heading up combat on 17 then?
Hope not.
Yeah. Yeah, I know nobody wants to hear they're doing another action game, trust me, but they might be heading in that direction. We'll see.
Make a Dirge of Cerberus too.
Yeah. Not that far. Let's not go that far. Yeah, so just really quick before we get into the Nintendo Direct stuff, Croc, Legends of the Gobbos, along with the original developer Argonaut Games, both returning. There's going to be an HD remaster of Croc. I never played this game, but I remember every time I went into a Blockbuster, there was always a copy of Croc that you could just rent.
Yep.
There.
I played the demo. I think my like local Funko Land used to have it. Like,
yeah,
in their kiosk. It was a bad game. You know, at the time, I guess it was kind of technically impressive, but even stuff like, you know, Tomb Raider was better.
Yeah.
Or, you know, it was a slightly more, I mean, very slightly more open, like, you know, Crash Bandicoot. But
right.
I don't think it was like very good. And it had such like a nondescript or such like a boring main character. Like, I think people like mascot games like Mario and Sonic because they are like creative and inventive, and Croc was not.
Yeah. It definitely was. It was fine for its time, you know.
Right.
It's just really funny that
it's like the same people who have like nostalgia for like Glover, or, you know, and Limited Run is doing that fucking Bubsy collection, or it's like, what do you guys, are you guys high? Like, what are you guys doing over there?
yeah, you're not wrong.
I
Yeah,
you can not like Gex, but at least Gex had a pretty inventive hook of, like, you know, the TV aspect world of it all. Like,
yeah,
Croc is like, well, go collect this shit in this level and go on to the next one.
yeah. It just feels like that was kind of the thing of just, hey, we're bringing back this old 3D platformer. Be excited about it, okay? And you know,
Yeah.
people have, you could technically say people have nostalgia for like almost anything, and you can find that person that goes, oh my god, yes, and then it's like you find out it's like 10 people.
Right.
But look, obviously there was a huge there was a big enough following for that, for them to like actually make the game and provide the developers. So we're joking around, but
And hey, man,
you know,
this will all lead to the eventual Buck Bumble remastered. So
yeah, that's you know, I was surprised with all the hullabaloo about that. They didn't try to like put it into the Nintendo Direct that happened last week. But
here's a shitty Master character no one gives a crap about.
right.
Next to this Mario game.
Yeah. But they did have that Indie World in a partner showcase. I don't know. Did you watch it? What did you think of?
Yeah, I watched most of it. I'm happy Suikoden 1 and 2 finally has a fucking release date, even though it's supposed to be out like last year.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like that was like, what? Like,
you have any other favorite announcements?
That Castlevania Dominus collection is cool.
Yes.
The DS games. Like, I don't think most people saw that. For me, probably the biggest one is actually, well, it's twofold. That Capcom Fighting Collection 2.
Mm-hmm.
like, yo, man, Project Justice. All right, I'm gonna spend $200 to buy the Dreamcast copy.
Power Stone 1 and 2, man. Woo!
Yeah.
Let's go.
The weird thing though is it doesn't have rival schools.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Like, I mean, you don't have to fix that game. Like, that game looks pretty ugly, but is it like a licensing deal? Like, what does, like, the intro movie have some like licensed song or something? Like,
Yeah.
put it in there, you
Right,
idiot.
but you could take that out. I mean,
Yeah, that's the point. It's like, hey, I don't know what the deal is, but if you're gonna have Project Justice in this thing, which is technically the third game in the series, have the first one in there.
yeah, interesting that they
And a bunch of
not had-
Capcom SNK shit, which I never played before.
that wasn't in that that first Capcom Fighting Collection.
Nope.
Either. Okay.
And then they announced, or they showed, I guess they confirmed that in that Marvel collection in Marvel vs. Street Fighter, the Japanese exclusive character Norimaro isn't going to be in the American version. And all I can say is, fuck yes. Awesome.
And it is also coming out a lot earlier than people thought. The digital version is
it's coming out like next week,
September 12th.
At least a digital copy, and then the physical one's out like November.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. The other thing, and this is not exactly well, that Tetris collection is cool.
Yeah, I was waiting to see if you were going to talk about it because they a lot of Tetris. You're going to get some old stuff in there, like documentary stuff as well, and then they're going to do Tetris. I like that idea of that like special Tetris 99 where you get the different versions of Tetris that you play as it goes along. Like, that looked cool too.
I'm just amazed that they're actually porting over and doing like an English version of Battle Tetris Gaiden, which is the best Tetris. The only thing that looked really iffy to me, and I honestly don't know why they're doing this, is the Switch version of Civilization 7.
Yeah. Oof.
Holy shit, did that look bad?
Well, Ghost Simulator 3 also didn't look great either when they showed that off. I was just like, okay, if you want to play the worst version of this game, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's always a bad game. So
well, no, but at least the other ones looked good. This one is like, oh, okay, that game's not great, and then we're gonna put it on the worst system. Great.
And I don't know. It didn't look bad technically, but I just kind of shrugged my shoulders at Yakuza Kiwami, being like,
and it's on a Nintendo system now, right? Like, that was the big thing of like, would Nintendo ever allow Yakuza to be on their system because of the Yakuza games history and their content? And yes, they are. I guess one by one, they're going to see how well they sell, and that will determine how much they make the other ones. And of course, I'm sure they're waiting on Switch 2 to make probably like Yakuza 0 or something like that.
So, no, you know what they need to do is put like a dragon on the Switch, and then have like a new plumber job where he's just dressed up like Mario.
I would not be surprised if there's some kind of exclusive, like a dragon
costume or job system. Yeah, like now you can be the princess.
Why not?
But I thought that like not everything that in that direct like landed for me, or I only cared about like half the stuff, but I thought it was fine.
I rewatched it yesterday. I liked it a lot more the first time I saw it. The second time I was like, okay, this really is kind of like, wow, this really was the port direct with some new stuff in there. The Indie World one was really good, I thought. That part. Balatro getting new cards. Neva looks great, as it always does. Good that we finally had the release date of next month, October 15th. I'm a big fan of the Coffee Talk games, so anytime there's a new Coffee Talk, I'm happy with that. Sea of Stars getting DLC. Great. That Morsels game from Annapurna publisher. And that dev, that looks really cool. They always do like really fun, like cool games that you don't expect. So always happy with that. A bunch of stuff that's been on PC already that's finally getting ported, like Pico Park 2 and all that. And Europa I've kind of been interested in, and that got a release date. So that looks good too. And of course, Battlestar Tactics. Yes, finally. Let's see if it actually comes out in fall 2024. And of course, Pizza Tower getting on Switch. That's good because I really like that game on PC. So sure. They always knock it out of the park with those indie worlds, so that's not too surprising.
Right.
But still, that Star Overdrive game looks interesting. Kind of like Zelda, but with some Tony Hawk hoverboard stuff in there.
That's what Zelda's missing.
I'll tell a new Altalia game, Yumiya. That's great. Good that I'll tell you is continuing. And this is gonna be the first one on Xbox, so that's cool too. That finally getting there. The Castlevania DS, that's like some of the best Castlevania games ever. So that finally getting a release date is cool.
Yeah.
Tales of Grace's F getting a remaster. Let's hope it's better than the Symphonia remaster. And apparently this is a Tales of remaster like project. So they are going to be remastering several Tales of games. So that might be why they took down all those other Tales games, because they might be remastering those as well. But if you want more of them, of course, you might want to buy these remasters, because that's probably the thing that's going to push them to keep making these. And I'm not the biggest Room Factory fan, but cool for those people that are. There's a new one coming as well.
Sure.
So yeah, there was some good stuff here. Again, they know their audience for the most part.
Yeah.
Like collections, ports, RPGs, you get that. It works great. There's been worse partner showcases, but I don't think this was like something like, oh my god, let's go into crazy and get super excited about it. But also the one thing I was super excited about that I'm happy is getting its remaster or remake, the Tales of Sky, the first coming out. They apparently didn't show because the trailer was all Japanese, so that's why they showed like a little snippet of it. But yeah, super excited that is coming, because that's the thing I've been wanting to hit consoles so I can start from the beginning, because I have them on PC, but don't really want to play them there. So yeah, apparently it's a Switch exclusive right now, so don't know if it's going to come to PS4 or Xbox One or whatever, but at least it'll be there on Switch. So I'm sure it'll look good on the Switch 2 when it finally comes out. So yeah. Last thing here, Annapurna is also mentioning them is going to help finance Control 2. Remedy's still going to self-publish, and of course they own the IP, but Annapurna is putting some money in, which that's cool. And they're also going to help get Alan Wake and Control into mediums beyond video games, which I did talk about. I wanted an Alan Wake like TV show or movie when we talked about like our most wanted IPs to get other things. So yes, totally down with that. Please make it happen, Annapurna.
I have heard that I listened to or watched an interview with the guy who actually is Alan Wake, Ilka Vili, or I forget his name. I mean, he doesn't sound like Alan Wake, but he can speak English fairly well. So I just cast him,
Yeah, please cast the people that you cast from the games. Like, I really don't want to see somebody else play Jesse or play Alan either.
Well, I mean, Jesse's a lot easier because Jesse, the actress literally is voicing her as well as looking,
Yeah, but I just hope they don't try to find somebody else just because, we need this to
we need a name or
draw attention. It would be good. That way they can play the games and it's a direct 1-to-1, and it's not, oh well, this person looks completely different.
Speaking of that, the Borderlands movie leaked, it already is out on digital, but someone threw it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's yep, that's about where it belongs.
Yep, that's what we thought. Did you watch the Sonic 3 movie trailer?
Oh yeah, that was okay. It'll be really funny to hear him Keanu Reeves yelling "Chaos Control" over and over like he did in the fucking games.
I'm sure they'll make a reference to that. He won't yell it.
He better, goddammit. No, it looked good. a lot less of James. Let's get the guy's name.
James Marsden. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, he's like barely in this trailer. Like, he's in it for like the one scene, and that was about it. I thought.
Yeah, I don't think we really need him to be in it that much. Like, right? It's supposed to be more about Sonic this time, right? Finding his family or whatever, and he finally does with Knuckles and Tails, and then of course here comes Shadow, and you get the different Dr. Robotnik. So that's
where's Big the Cat? That's what everyone's been asking.
Maybe that'll be a Sonic 4. You get Amy and Big the Cat finally.
And they'll get Lacey Chabert to be Princess Elise, and they can have that big romance together.
There you go. I wonder if Jim Carrey would come back for Sonic 4 again. I guess it depends on how well he does.
Yeah, how much I want to pay him. I mean, sure.
But I mean, it's like he's essentially retired, and like he keeps coming back for these movies. It's hilarious. Like, what do they do? What are they doing to convince him for that?
That's what Marvel did to convince Robert Downey Jr. to back up.
Oh well, Robert Downey Jr. is not stupid. He's just making that money. He's not, you know.
Hey man, retirement can cost money. So
yeah, that too. But all right. Anything else you want to bring up before we? All right. That being said, as I said in the description there, but we're pretty much in fall game season. So every week there is something. I talked about, Visions of Mana came out last week. Star Wars Outlaws also came out last week. This week,
the biggest game of the year, Star Trucker.
Yeah, Star Trucker. It's out on Game Pass, actually. You can go play that right now. Also going to be on Game Pass, Age of Mythology Retold. That's already, you could have played that early if you wanted to, if you bought the extra version, but it's out tomorrow for everybody on Game Pass. Casting of Frank Stone, which is like that narrative horror game that's from the Dead by Daylight people, that also is out now, which looks really interesting. NBA 2K25. There's some people waiting for that thing. Not either one of us, but definitely people waiting for it.
Someone's waiting for it.
Test Drive Unlimited, Solar Crown.
That's finally out.
Yeah, also
After
out.
Being delayed like 9 different times.
Yes. That Shogun Showdown game is out as well. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 is finally out also. Ace Attorney Investigations Collection also out. And of course the big one that everybody's waiting on, Astrobot, out on Friday. I have got it pre-ordered. I'm ready to go, waiting for that Thursday midnight release because I'm going to be playing that until I got to work the next day. So that's going to be awesome. So we'll talk about Astrobot for sure on the next episode. And who knows, maybe Review Code will come in for one of these other things. I'm kind of waiting to see what Casting of Frank Stone does because I'm kind of interested in that, but we'll see. And like literally every week after this, there's something coming out for people to play. So get ready, get those wallets ready because it's happening, folks. We're getting into that fall season. So with that being said, forgot to do this in the normal spot, but hopefully you go review the show whether you listen on podcasts or watch live or watch later on YouTube. Remember, if you subscribe, you get not only what we do, but the other shows, the anime show, the Rather Broadcasting folks doing movies and TV. So worth subscribing if you like other things besides games or just like us here with the games. So until then, see you later, everybody.
Later.